Now we're going to talk about the respiratory passageway. So here's a big model up here. So even what's not in this model is a part of kind of the respiratory passageway is air comes in your nasal cavity, in your oral cavity, right? It goes down your pharynx. And then here is your larynx right here. So this structure right here, we're going to be having a whole test on this next. But this is part of your larynx is basically from here to here. This is the beginning of it. And it is hanging down from the hyoid bone. So this white bone up here, this is your hyoid bone, right up here. All right, that is the only bone that doesn't articulate with any other bone in the body. And we'll hear a lot more about both of these sections. But when you breathe, right, it comes down and goes down, has to go through your larynx as you're breathing. So here's your larynx. Underneath that then is going to be the trachea. So here's the rings of the trachea. You can see it going down. So I might as well kind of show you the whole thing while we're here. So here you can see this. Here's the lungs, here's the right lung, here's the left lung, right here's the heart in the middle. Okay, and we'll start taking some of these structures off so you can see inside. So here is the trachea coming down, right? The blue colors here are the trachea coming down here. And then behind it is the esophagus. So you can't really see it in this picture, except for right down here is going to be the esophagus. So the air and food is going in the same passage. You want food to stay to the back and go down the esophagus, come out here. You want air to come down here, down the trachea. All right. Then this point right here. So you see that the trachea is coming down, and right down here, there's a point where it divides into two different branches. These are called the main stem bronchi, these bronchi. So the main stem bronchi are the first division from the trachea, and that middle point where they divide, that is the carina. So you have trachea, carina is this midpoint right where they divide, and that's the main stem bronchi. Then their second division, so that's right here and here. Here's the second division. That is called the secondary bronchi. Over here, it's a little harder to see, but there it looks like it's here, here, here. Secondary bronchi, those are also called the lobar bronchi, and we'll go over this in class. So that's a secondary bronchi. And then when those divide, again, as these start to divide, this is tertiary bronchi. So the secondary, when they start to divide, that's called the tertiary bronchi, and that's as far as you go. After that, you just call these bronchioles, all these subdivisions. But it continues and continues many, many times. All right. Here we'll put the lungs back. All right, so with this, because this person you can see is facing us, or this body is facing us, we know that this is the left lung over here, and here's the right lung over here. All right, so we have, that's pretty easy to tell, right and left lung. You'll notice that this left lung only has two lobes, really. So here's a dividing line right here. Right, and it has a superior and an inferior lobe. So the left lung just has two lobes. The right lung actually has three. So they have this kind of line here. This is the superior lobe, this is the middle lobe here, and then there's an inferior lobe. Here's this line right here, showing you here. I'll make it a little bit easier to see. So this is the superior lobe, this is the middle lobe, this is the inferior lobe of the right lung. Any guesses why the right lung has three and the left lung only has two? It's because there's a structure that kind of is getting in the way, which we don't have here, but right, the heart. So the heart sits in here and it veers more to the left, so it kind of takes up that space. So that's an easy way to remember. Just remember, whichever side the heart veers to is the lung that doesn't have enough room for enough lobes. So it only has two. So the left lung only has two lobes, All right, the one other term you have to know here is the base. So just the base is what you would think of, the bottom. We're gonna have a number of structures where we talk about the base and the apex. And the base is the bottom part of it, and then the apex of the lungs are the top parts right here. That is it for the respiratory passage.